Bret Baier is said to be leaving the network that made his career, but he didn't stay around to give much of an answer. The longtime Fox News host quit all of a sudden at age 54, which shocked the media world. He was Fox's most reliable source for years on end for some of the most important political news. So why leave right now and without telling anyone? Was it the quiet build-up of stress inside, a split at the last minute, or something much bigger than what the headlines say? Come along with us as we find out what really happened behind closed doors and where Bret Baier might go next in a story that never ends. Bret Baier has written about some of the most important events in modern history, from the terrible events of November 11 to the battlefields of Afghanistan and Iraq. During his decades at Fox News, he covered presidential campaigns and inaugurations and became a well-known face in American politics. He got his start in the business after studying political science at DePaul University and working as a newscaster in his hometown. He slowly moved up the ranks, getting his primetime show Special Report in the end. Along the way, he not only became famous, but he also made a lot of important ties, including a golfing friendship with President Trump. But there have been rough spots on his journey. It wasn't easy for Baier to get from the small offices of WJWJ TV 16 in South Carolina to the top of America's most popular conservative network. He won a lot of important awards, but there were also times when he had to show his strength and his business standing. Not all of Baier's fights were in the public eye. As he led the unpredictable world of TV news, some of the hardest times happened behind the scenes. They left their mark on him. But the stress wasn't just in the office. At home, the Baier family went through a lot of hard times that tested their strength and unity. There were health scares that could have killed someone, and times when tragedy could have happened. In 2019, a family trip to Montana was the site of one of the scariest events. Their relaxing trip turned into a scary one when their car lost control on the icy roads, crashed, and flipped over. It was a scary time, but it also showed how important it is to move quickly and get help from others. Their car lost control on the icy road on the way back from a skiing vacation, flipped, and left them trapped in a dangerous situation. He was in a rollover accident in Bozeman yesterday. It happened after he and his family went skiing at the Yellowstone Club over the weekend. But who would have thought that a stranger on a cold Montana road would bring hope at such a dangerous time? Family, faith, and fear. Later, Bret Baier said that a driver named Zach who was passing helped his family get out of the ruins after the scary Montana accident. They were taken to the hospital safely and got care right away thanks to Zach and the quick work of first responders and the Montana Highway Patrol. Baier was very thankful and told his fans that every day is a blessing and that times like these make everything clear, especially how important family is. The fact that what could have been a terrible tragedy turned into a strong reminder of how kind and brave regular people are. Surprisingly, the Baier family was sent home from the hospital the same day and they received a lot of support right away. Fans of well-known people like Megyn Kelly, Ainsley Earhart, and even Stephen Colbert, who was going to interview Baier on his late-night show, sent their best wishes. Bret was back on TV the next day, hosting a special report as calmly as if nothing had happened. He did take a moment to thank viewers for their prayers and support, though. He and his wife Amy were thankful that they were able to get through it together as a family. But the couple had already been through even tougher problems. In 2007, not long after they had their son Paul, doctors told them terrible news. The baby was born with 5 heart problems, and he or she would need several open-heart surgeries to stay alive. Being a parent quickly turned from happiness to fear and heartbreak. Bret remembered that moment as one that changed his life. Talking about how the doctor told them their son wouldn't make it without surgery right away. Paul had 2 surgeries before he turned 1, and many more over the years. Each one put the family's strength to the test. In an emotional moment with his son, Baier talked about his book Special Heart, a journey of faith, hope, courage, and love. His son had asked him why he had to go through so much. His answer was honest and full of hope. He told Paul that God had a plan and that he was doing well on all of his tests. There were many times like that that showed how much faith, family, and strength have affected Baier's life, on and off the screen. His words to Paul showed the same strength of character that he had seen in his father. Bret's father's strength and sacrifices had a big impact on how he saw life. Thus, when Bret experienced one of the most important deaths of his life, how did his faith and family support him? Loss, wounds, and falls. In 2020, Bret Baier told his Instagram fans some very sad news. Bill, his dad, had died after a long fight with cancer. Baier showed a touching picture of himself, Amy, and their boys and said that they had the chance to say goodbye to Bill just days before he died. Even though the loss was painful, he said that his father's quick death was a small blessing in a very sad time. It was clear that the father and son had a strong bond that was based on love, respect, and years of sharing knowledge. Honor had always been a part of Bret's story. In previous interviews, he talked a lot about how strong he thought his father was. Bill had sat him down when he was 9 years old and told him they were moving for work from New Jersey to Atlanta. His father's words hurt him deeply at the time, but they stayed with him. Getting ahead meant moving up the ladder, even if it meant making some tough choices. That drive stayed with Baier as an adult, and he wanted to give it to his children. But life had more tests in store. Doctors found a large aneurysm near Paul's heart during what should have been a routine checkup in 2024. The situation could have gotten worse if it hadn't been found. Paul has had 5 open-heart surgeries in the last 16 years. Bret had to tell his son the bad news, and even though he did it with bravery, it broke Bret's heart. The newsman was shocked to see Paul roll away again for another 10-hour treatment. Paul went home just 5 days after the surgery, which was good news. However, not long after that sense of relief, Baier came under fire after an unfriendly conversation with Kamala Harris. People who didn't like him said he repeatedly interrupted and asked too many direct questions. The answer came right away. Lots of people, mostly liberals, thought he was more interested in show than in politics. People were still angry about the Harris interview when another issue popped up. If people didn't trust his approach before, how would they respond to claims that he tried to change one of the most important election decisions in recent memory? News stories, heat, and looking back. Bret Baier's image took a big hit again in 2022 when a political expose called The Divider came out. In the White House, Trump said that he had asked Fox News to take back its early call that Arizona would vote for Joe Biden in 2020. Authors Peter Baker and Susan Glasser said that Baier cared less about being accurate and more about how Fox's mostly Republican viewers would respond. The book made him seem like a reporter who was torn between telling the truth and keeping people who weren't ready to accept it. And private email that was later made public gave more information about what Baier thought at the time. In it, he told Fox executives that people in Donald Trump's group were getting more and more upset with the network's coverage. Baier said that the people who make decisions were being stubborn and asked them to overturn the Arizona call and put the state back in Trump's column. It didn't matter if it meant losing respect. His words made it sound like his journalistic standards were being pushed aside by political pressure and fan loyalty. More harm was done when the Daily Beast got their hands on private messages between Baier and Tucker Carlson, another Fox personality. In those texts, Baier said that he wanted the network to make its poll calls go more slowly, agreeing with Carlson that making rushed choices could damage everything they had worked for. People at Fox News had long thought of Bret Baier as one of the more fair and balanced hosts. But when his messages were leaked, that image took a hit. The texts made it seem like he cared more about making viewers happy than telling them the hard truth, which made people question his dedication to being a good journalist. Baier had been in trouble before. Back in 2016, he got in trouble for standing up for Roger Ailes after Gretchen Carlson said the longtime Fox News boss harassed her. Because he stood up for Ailes, he was a major figure in the incident. It's not clear if Baier put his boss ahead of the facts, which is bad for a reporter whose job it is to protect the truth. Then how did he get out of the moral mess? Not seen in plain sight. Al Fait The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Baier talked deeply about how Roger Ailes had been there for him during one of the hardest times of his life, helping him when his son was having a series of major health problems.
Said my family.
One of the first prophet my son had surgery on his heart, he said that Ailes' kind behavior was like the Ailes he had known, kind, caring, and faithful. However, as more women, including well-known news reporter Megyn Kelly, came forward with similar claims, the picture started to clear. Later, Baier admitted that his first argument had been wrong. He said that he had been too naive and that his own experiences had made him less smart. Bret Baier is a well-known person, but he knows what it's like to be forgotten at work. Since joining Fox News in 1998, he has been one of the most reliable and trusted hosts. But that hasn't always meant that his ideas or work are recognized. Behind the camera, Baier has had times when his ideas were quietly brushed off, even when he thought they could make a big difference. In 2020, Baier suggested making a special show on Sunday nights to clear up the growing amount of false information about the race for president. Many of the conspiracy theories and false claims that were going around were pushed by Donald Trump. He thought that Fox's viewers deserved a simple answer based on facts. NPR said that Baier saw the show as a way to both address the concerns of the crowd and clear the air. However, it looked like network leaders didn't think the idea was as important or quick. It looks like executives didn't say much or anything in answer to Baier's idea. One person with knowledge said that by the time the talk started to take off, the network had already started to cover Joe Biden's administration. It was too late to fight back against false information about the poll, and the leaders didn't think it was worth it to bring up the idea again. Baier decided to step back from the field because he knew the chance had passed him by, especially after the chaos of January 6 shook the country. Even though Baier was not involved in a project he really cared about, his place at Fox stayed the same or even got stronger. Ask yourself how he stayed on top while tensions rose inside and outside the press after taking a quiet step back. Still getting a lot of attention, Fox News just recently announced that Bret Baier is staying put and has signed a new deal that will keep him in the spotlight on the network. Under the new deal, he kept his job as host of the Special Report, as lead reporter for the 2024 election, and as host of the Bret Baier Show on Fox News Audio. Baier took over Special Report from Brit Hume for the first time in 2009, and every night since then about 2 million people have watched the show. Because he is always on and covers politics well, he is one of the most trusted and important voices on the show. Baier helped run the first Republican presidential primary debate, which happened just a few weeks before the announcement. A big news story came out today from Fox News about the presidential primary discussion. The meeting was in the news, but it was also notable for someone who didn't go, former President Donald Trump. He said he didn't go because he thought Fox was being mean to him. Even though Trump wasn't there, Baier's job as moderator made him even more of a trusted figure in political times. Baier got an in-depth interview with Trump earlier that summer and pressed him on tough topics like how he handled classified papers. People all over the world heard the talk because Baier was trying to get answers on matters central to Trump's 2024 campaign. It was a rare chance to see the former president question Baier in real time, and he didn't hold back. Trump, on the other hand, was not pleased. In the days after the interview, he lied about Baier and called him mean. He also accused Baier of betraying him. He was critical of the network itself, especially Fox News and its CEO Rupert Murdoch, whom he said was trying to stop him from coming back to power. As the race for 2024 heated up, Baier's position at the center of these fights showed that his voice was still important and being looked at closely. Baier is in the middle of a political storm right now, but he didn't get there overnight. How did a South Carolina news reporter become one of the most important and feared reporters in the country today? How I got from nothing to fame.